Today's Instagram crown comment goes to... If you want to get featured, comment something lovely and positive on my Instagram and follow me at MissRegal_. Like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy. You can tell a lot about the Phantom character in each adaptation, depending on how Joseph Buquet dies, and how he's betrayed. Let's get into it. Joseph Buquet's purpose as a character is normally to hype up the ghost story at the opera house, or wherever the movie is set, and then die. Most of the time he's a stagehand, sometimes he's even a manager, or just someone the main cast knows. His personality can vary between just being a nice guy that was punished pretty unfairly for his curiosity, to a bumbling idiot and comic relief, to being an actual pervert. But 9 times out of 10, no matter his background, he dies. On the surface, it doesn't seem like he's that pivotal, but actually he's very significant to everything that happens. He's our introduction to the Phantom's mythology at the opera house. He's the one that creates a picture of what the Phantom really looks like before we even get to the unmasking scene. But he's also an introduction to Erik's brutality or lack of brutality. How he acts around Joseph Buquet tells us everything about what kind of Phantom we're dealing with. I think his death in each adaptation represents what the movie wants us to think about the Phantom. In the Charles Dance version, Joseph Buquet gets spooked by the skull mask and falls to his death. Gerik claims it as self-defense, whereas in the Robert Englund version,
it won't happen again.
No, it won't. You're suspended.
Gerik is considered one of the softest and sweetest versions of the Phantom, to the point of being called cottagecore Erik. The director wants us to feel sympathetic towards him, whereas the Robert Englund Erik is designed to scare us. After all, one of these movies is definitely a period drama, and the other version is a slasher-style horror movie. Let's take a look at how a director's intentions could potentially manipulate how you feel about Joseph Buquet and Erik. I think you can continue to see this way of thinking with the 2004 Gerard Butler movie. There are at least 3 scenes before Buquet's death where we see him be a peeping Tom on the Ballet Girls, Christine and Meg, drinking heavily and then making creepy growling noises whilst trying to grab the Ballet Girls. Ew. One key shift that the Lloyd Webber musical made was to heighten the love story, and the 2004 movie turns that up to 11 and makes it very, very erotic. A situation where the Phantom character needs to be as appealing as possible, and in steps Gerard Butler, object of desire, a Byronic figure, both sympathetic and appealing to the female gaze. And because of that intention in the film, Joseph Buquet being openly very creepy and sleazy make that cognitive dissonance about his death in an audience's mind very easy. I'm not saying Gerik isn't a creep. He does stalk Christine and watches her in secret multiple times, and is also the world's very first catfish. But the film definitely romanticizes and glosses over it quite artfully, while making it clear that we're meant to see Joseph Buquet as pretty gross. I feel like the film is trying to tell us, or at least make us think, that there is a big, big difference between them. And isn't that a huge irony, that Gerik can get away with what he does with the audience, while Joseph Buquet doesn't get away with anything because there's nothing about him that's physically appealing to the audience? Even though the 2004 movie is based on the Lloyd Webber musical, one huge difference between them is the decision to give Gerik a backstory, Erik's actual backstory, in the book. In the Lloyd Webber musical, Madame Giry says that she sees the Phantom locked in a cage as a full-grown adult. That's when she sees him, and then that's how she recognises him later. Whereas in the 2004 movie, we see Erik as a child being abused in the circus like he is in the book. We hear of a small piece of the Phantom's backstory in the Lloyd Webber musical, but seeing a flashback scene like this and Madame Giry's closer connection to him makes us feel even more sorry for this character. I also didn't even realise until doing this video essay that Joseph Buquet and Erik's abuser in the flashback scene closely resemble each other. That was definitely not a coincidence. So all these things together make you root for Erik's character and not Buquet. So let's look at our checklist. Gerik is hot, Joe is not. Gerik has a tragic backstory, and Gerik is romantic, whereas Joe is creepy. Most women and AFAB people have encountered a Joseph Buquet figure like this multiple times before. I know I have. He's very, very familiar to the real world. We all know an older, creepy, sleazy, drunk guy like this that's been inappropriate towards us. For most women and AFAB people that have experienced any form of sexual harassment or violence, there isn't much justice in the real world that deals with people like this guy. So bearing all that in mind, I don't think it's a coincidence that most of us watch this particular movie and kind of feel apathetic or vindicated when Buquet dies. Oh no, a pervert died. I'm devastated. See what I mean about director's intentions? Compare that with another adaptation of Phantom, the Masm game, and the directors behind this project have an entirely different goal. Warning, spoilers. Joseph Buquet is intent on sharing information about the Phantom, wanting to prove its existence. He is led into Erik's torture chamber and is unfortunately pushed into deleting himself. It's a really horrible end for a well-meaning and innocent character. There was nothing wrong with this man, he was just pulled into a trap. I found when I played the game that although it did stick much closer to LaRue's novel, the game developers were not really looking to give Erik a redemption arc at all. In fact, I was very surprised to see that they made Erik even more sadistic and twisted than he is in the book. And Buquet's death in this adaptation shows this. He was just prey to an apex predator and left behind a grieving wife and daughter. You can't help but feel awful for this man, and in turn condemn Masm Erik for his senseless brutality. From what I remember, the guy's only excuse was something along the lines of, "He went into my territory and that's enough for me." And then he played the funeral mass on his funky-ass organ to taunt Buquet. Yeah, not much sympathy for this guy. Anyway, this was my mini video essay about Joseph Buquet. If you want to see me analyse the 2004 movie, let me know. Let me know in the comments, like this video, and subscribe if you want to see more. And I will see you very soon. Bye-bye!